Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are on page 25 of our student journal, and our objective for the day is, today I will round whole numbers. Okay, so our objective is, today I will round whole numbers. Let's look at our vocabulary. And our first word is rounding. What does that mean? It says to replace the number being rounded with a number that tells about how many. So the key word here is about. When you round a number, you have a number that's about the same. It's not exactly the same. And then they give us an example. 7,684,034 rounds to 8 million. So 8 million is the about number, okay? Then they remind us what a digit is, which we've seen in many lessons. And then we have this new sign. It means approximately or about. So it looks like an equal sign. I'm going to draw it a little larger. It's kind of like a wavy equal sign. And it just means it's an about that. So it doesn't mean exactly. So I wouldn't say 5, this sign 5, I would use an equal sign, but what I could say is I could say 49 is about 50. They're close to or approximately the same. Okay, let's look at our steps, because our steps are really good today and we're going to follow them as is. So our first step says we're going to underline the digit in the indicated place value. So whatever the question asks us, if it says round to the nearest 10 or round to the nearest 100, we are going to underline that digit. So the key word there is underline. Then we're going to circle the digit to the right of the underlined. So the one on the right, we're going to circle. Okay, this circle digit is something I call my bossy neighbor. So we're going to write bossy neighbor. And remember, everything I write, your teacher expects you to write. So we're going to call that our bossy neighbor. Our bossy neighbor's on the right. Okay, and then it says if the circle digit is 5 or greater, add 1 to the underline place and change all the digits to the right to zeros. If the circle digit is 4 or less, keep the underline place the same and change all the digits to the right to zeros. So you might remember from when you were younger hearing a little phrase that says 0 through 4 stays the same as before. 5 through 9 goes up the line. So that's kind of what we are going to remember. Is 5 makes it go up, 4 and below makes it stay the same. Okay, and then we're going to bring down any digits to the left. I kind of always, when I'm rounding, I kind of say this little phrase to help me remember that my bossy neighbor is the one in charge. So we're going to put this little phrase because you're going to hear me say this. So this is what my bossy neighbor is going to say. I am a blank, so you blank. So I am a blank, so you blank. Because it's the bossy neighbor who's going to make the decision. So if the bossy neighbor says, I'm a 5, he's going to say, so you go up. If the bossy neighbor says, I'm a 2, so you stay the same. So the bossy neighbor determines what's going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to get started and show you what this looks like on my first problem. And I'm going to be following my steps as I do this. So here's my first problem. It says round to the nearest 100,000. So step 1 says I'm going to underline the digit that they're asking me to round to. So this is asking me to round to the nearest 100,000. Now if you don't know your place values very well, you could look at a place value chart, but I know that this is my 100,000 place value. So step 1 says I'm going to underline that. Okay, step 2 says I'm going to circle the digit to the right. I'm going to circle the bossy neighbor, and he thinks he's right, which makes sense, he's on the right. So here's my bossy neighbor on the right. Okay, so my bossy neighbor on the right says, I'm an 8, so you go up. So because he on the right thinks he's right, he's going to say, I'm an 8, so you go up. He tells him what to do. So I'm an 8, so you go up, and he becomes a 4. And then everything after that becomes a 0. So my answer is 400,000. Okay, let's try another one of these. Okay, this one you're going to see is a word problem. And it says, a baseball stadium sold 7,286,938 tickets in one season. Approximately, how many tickets were sold if they rounded to the nearest million? Okay, so I'm going to rewrite my number so I have it that I can work with. A lot of times I like to rewrite my work. Okay, so my first step says I'm going to underline the place value that they're asking me to round to. So underline that digit. So they're asking me to round to the nearest million, so I'm going to underline the 7. My next step says to circle the digit on the right. Circle that bossy neighbor on the right who thinks he's always right. Okay, so my bossy neighbor on the right is going to say, tell him what to do. So he's going to say, I'm a 2, so you stay the same. So he determines what happens. So I'm a 2, so you stay the same. And then everything after that becomes a 0. So my answer is approximately 7 million. The answer is about 7 million. Okay, let's try some together, ladies and gentlemen. So we are on page 26. So please grab your pencil and turn to page 26. Okay, and our first one says, round to the nearest 10,000. Okay, even though this is pretty large, I'm just going to write it one more time so it's a little bit larger for me to work with. Okay, so step 1 says we're going to find the 10,000's place value. And you could use your place value chart if you need to. Otherwise, you might already know it. So I know this is my 10,000's place because this is my thousands period, and that's 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. Okay, so step 2 says I'm going to circle the digit to the right. I'm going to circle that bossy neighbor on the right, which is a 3. Okay, so my bossy neighbor on the right is going to say, I'm a 3, so you stay the same. Okay, so he stays a 1. Now this one, we haven't done one like this, which means everything after is going to become a 0, and everything in front is going to stay the same. So our answer is 1,410,000. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, now we have a word problem. It says, Pete's Hot Dogs made 309,508 last month. About how much money did they make rounded to the nearest 1,000? Okay, so let's first write our number. And then let's underline the place value. So nearest 1,000. This number 9 is in the nearest 1,000. Okay, so our next step is we're going to circle our bossy neighbor on the right, who thinks he's right. Okay, and he says to him, I'm a 5, so you go up. Now here's the problem. When 9 goes up, 9 actually becomes a 10. So this one's a little tricky because I had to realize that it became a 10. Everything after becomes a 0, and everything in front stays the same. So our answer is 310,000. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, your teacher is going to give you some other problems to do and practice, and have a great day. Bye-bye.